60,000 in Australia. They're the Jehovah's Witnesses, and some of you will find them on your doorstep today, devoutly preaching their message and pressing their literature. But this morning you're going to meet some other witnesses with a very different message. They're victims of child abuse at the hands of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they accuse the church of not only covering up their complaints, but actively frustrating police investigations. For years, a curtain of silence and obstruction has protected pedophiles within the ranks of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now that curtain has been drawn aside by the victims and by former elders, whose testimony implicates yet another church in this growing scandal. Our cover story is reported by Graham Davis.
At the Melbourne Tennis Centre, the gods of sport make way for the real thing, as 10,000 voices praise the Almighty. These are just some of the 60,000 or so Australians who belong to the WatchTower Bible and Tract Society, better known as the Jehovah's Witnesses.
We need to be zealous as proclaimers of God's kingdom, shining as illuminators of the world.
They're the clean-cut evangelists who appear at our doors, preaching Armageddon and the paradise to come quarters. But in personal and theological terms, his was a momentous defection. And as a former elder and director of WatchTower companies, he's a potent witness against his former associates.
I could imagine that if it was a case of any other crime like murder or something, that there would be full cooperation. And why, in this case, there is not, suggests that there is something that they're protecting.
Protecting the church's reputation, or even protecting child abusers, perhaps.
Or particular child abusers.
The Jehovah's Witnesses, in fact, routinely shield pedophiles from the law, as in the case of Robert Souter, allowing them to offend again and again.
It's been called a pedophile paradise. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Would you agree with it?
Yes.
You would. Pedophile paradise?
Yes.
You'd agree with that?
I think that's true.
So this was the body of the Kingdom Hall here?
Yeah. And in the greatest betrayal of all, far from suffering the little children, the church has inflicted untold suffering that lingers into adulthood.
I remember that the first time he actually touched me and did something to me, that was a real life-changing moment. It was terrible. I just knew it would never be the same after that.
The kind of allegations that have forced changes in the mainstream churches like the Anglicans and Roman Catholics.
Amen.
Is there any chance whatsoever that this organisation can reform itself?
No. No. None.
So if there's going to be any reform of their handling of child abuse, it's going to have to be imposed on them.
Yes.
God's enemies will never prevail over his loyal ones.
For Jehovah's Witnesses, there's only one true religion, theirs. Jehovah God, the only God, his word in the Bible to be taken literally. The act of baptism through total immersion symbolizes total surrender to Jehovah and his only legitimate authority on earth, the WatchTower Society. Witnesses live in what they call the truth, the rest of us in the world. A world, the church would have it, governed by Satan.
If you decide you want to do some of your own thing, well, you can. Be careful, because this world is deceived. It's deceived by the devil.
And Satan's temptations abound, even across a crowded room. Jehovah's Witnesses aren't allowed to marry outside the church, a source of much heartache in itself.
What were the circumstances that led to you leaving?
I attended a son's wedding.
Your own son?
My own son, yeah.
What was wrong with that?
Well, he was marrying a young lass who was an Anglican. Now, all other churches are considered as children of the devil. So they said, and I quote from the man who was the branch coordinator at the time, you don't give your children to the Philistines.
But the strictures go on. Jehovah's Witnesses can't vote, can't join the military, aren't allowed to celebrate Christmas, even their own birthdays.
Birthdays, because they see it as bringing too much attention to a single person. With Christmas, I think everybody understands that a lot of the symbolism associated with Christmas obviously isn't Christian. It's come from other practices from around the world, and they use that as their part of their justification.
And most controversial of all, Jehovah's Witnesses can't have blood transfusions, a dictate based on an obscure biblical passage that's cost many thousands of lives worldwide.
I was 18 at the time.
Counselling session from them saying that it was due to me not forgiving my father, that's why I wasn't coping.
Well, I was told that to endure until the end is to be faithful. It demonstrates your faith. And I was also told to leave it to Jehovah, because Jehovah will work it out. But why can't we expose these things that are happening and then leave it to Jehovah?
We can't live with this anymore. It has to come out in the open. I'll give you a week to go to the elders.
But Victor Webb wasn't about to confess, so he was exposed.
Okay, so your husband goes to the elders. Which elder did he go and see?
Morris Hadley.
Morris, yeah. Oh, Morris
Hadley. Davis from the Sunday program.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about the sex abuse case involving Natalie Webb.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You know her father?
Well, indeed I do.
You used to play tennis with him, didn't you?
Where did you get all this information?
Well, we have our sources.
Yeah.
Do you still have any contact with Vic?
Occasionally.
What did Morris Hadley say to him?
Well, he was very shocked and couldn't believe it.
Because your father had been so devout.
And they were quite friendly.
What do you think about what he did to his daughter?
I think it's deplorable. Absolutely disgusting.
Why?
And I have never, ever condoned that man's behaviour.
As senior elder at the local Kingdom Hall, Morris Hadley formed a judicial committee, the way the church deals with all breaches of its code of behaviour, from smoking a cigarette through to serious crimes.
There were 3 elders, including him, in that committee. And they apparently, so Morris told me, spoke to Bethel in Sydney and decided amongst themselves that no one should know about it. It should be a private reproof.
So, for sexually abusing his daughter from the age of 4, a crime he readily admitted, all Victor Webb got was a reprimand behind closed doors.
A private reproof?
Private, yep. So, and then he would be put on a course of Bible studies, because that's what was wrong with him. Spiritually, he was sick, so he was told.
At the very least, Natalie Webb had wanted her father disfellowshipped, expelled from the congregation, the ultimate sanction for Jehovah's Witnesses. It didn't happen.
Why didn't the elders of the church disfellowship him for what he did?
Why didn't they?
Yeah. Why didn't you?
Well, I'm not the decision maker.
You were?
No, I was only one of them. I was a committee.
Can you tell me why he wasn't disfellowshipped?
Well, not now, I can't.
I'd believed all my life that when you do something wrong, you get disfellowshipped. And I guess I went a little bit crazy. You know, I just couldn't work it out.
A secret deliberation, a private reproof. No recourse whatsoever to the proper authorities.
Did you go to the police?
Which is a reasonable... No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, it was something for the family to decide and do.
Morris said to me that the authorities shouldn't be notified because it would be a bad witness, and that they would be able to handle the situation.
So Morris Hadley told you quite specifically not to go to the police?
Yes.
Yeah, and I say that that's not true.
You swear by that?
I swear by that, categorically.
You never said that to her?
Never said that to her.
Well, he said he seemed to take it very seriously, and he said, look, he said, we'll chase it up and leave it with me. And that was the last we heard of it.
You said to him, leave it with me. He says that's the last he heard of it. Did you feel that you had any responsibility to get back to this family? Did you feel?
I have no comment to make to you.
Unbeknown to the family, John Wingate and the other elders did act. They disfellowshipped Robert Suter, expelled him from the congregation. But it wasn't long before the Thomas family got some devastating news.
It was around about the 6 months, and they reinstated him into the Cooma congregation.
What did you think when you were told that?
I couldn't believe it. I was stunned, and I was unbelievably upset.
Now, what that family wants to know is why he was reinstated into the church around 6 months later.
Bring the WatchTower Society of Australia and they will answer all your questions regarding that situation.
Well, can you tell me, sir, why can't you speak about it?
Because I'm not at liberty to.
Why?
Because I'm not.
You handled the case.
That's none of your business.
I spoke to an elder down there, and he said Robert Suter was repentant, so when you're repentant, you're allowed back into the congregation.
Do you have a problem with hearing? You have a hearing impediment?
I'm trying to find some answers.
You're not going to get answers off me because I've told you.
Still, my friends, I find it extremely difficult to have a bond and to be a part of a brotherhood with them now. The organisation, the organisational procedures need to change because kids cannot suffer like that anymore. It's wrong.
Suffer the children. Graham Davis reporting there, the producer Kirstine Lum. More information is available on our website at 9msn.com.au/Sunday, as well as contact details for victims of abuse. And we're continuing to investigate this story, so if you have any information that could help, you can call our hotline on 02 9965 2483, or you can email us on line2sunday@9.com.au. And we'll be back with more of Sunday in a moment.